LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I
filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
For TJ McCormack. My gosh, they wanted me to be here on Valentine's Day because you felt romantic about me. An honor to be on the Red Apple Audio Network for TJ McCormack. Walter Sterling. What a privilege. What a treat. A double treat. I have a Valentine baby. My 13-year-old turns 14 right now. That's right. She's a Valentine baby. And boy, is she a Valentine baby. Valentine's Day. How's this working out for you guys? This is one of the spiritual tests that you and I are given as men. You got a girlfriend? You got a wife? You got a side boyfriend? This is the test day. And yes, you're right. Everything cost a lot more.
Love hurts this year. Expect Valentine's Day to be extra painful on your pocketbook. Americans are projected to spend more than $29 billion on the holiday this weekend. And this is interesting. There are a lot of skeptical sweethearts. 82% of Americans say the day is a trick to make people spend more money. Yet 65% of all consumers plan to celebrate it anyway. So here's what you need to know.
Well, on average, people are spending about $200 this year on Valentine's Day, which is more than last year. It's $12 more than last year. And the reason for that is because prices have gone up thanks to inflation and tariffs.
So let me break down some of the price increases for you. Flowers and candy up 10%. Wine has risen 11%. Chocolate will cost you at least 30% more. Jewelry prices have spiked 40%. The good news is there are ways to save and still do something meaningful. The key here, you guys, is DIY. Do it yourself. Give your Valentine the gift of your time. For instance, get flowers from a grocery store like Trader Joe's or Wegmans and put together your own bouquet.
No.
That will be a lot less expensive than buying an arrangement at a florist. Also, get creative.
So doing things like baking someone something, writing them a poem, creating a playlist for someone. There are fun things you can do that make someone feel special that don't cost a lot.
All right, a handmade card, a poem, sounds like something right out of Romeo's playbook. Nothing more romantic than that.
It sounds like a terrible idea. It sounds like an idea that a woman would come up with. No man would say, you know, I'm going to solve my Valentine problem by doing it myself. I'm going to do a DIY project for my wife. I could see women saying, I'm going to make him something. I'll bake him something for Valentine's. Or I will give him the gift of my time. A woman might say, I'm going to give him the gift of my time. She might think, I'm going to bake. I'll bake extra cookies. I'll make dinner. I'll make a dinner for him. That'll be great, right? Turn that around. No man is going to think he can get away with, I'll make her dinner. I'll give her extra time. I know. Here's a card. I'm going to give you extra time. No, that will be the end of the relationship. In that suggestion, it said, why don't you gather up some flowers from different stores like Trader Joe's? Like Trader Joe's. Every woman knows if it's a supermarket flower. They know it instantly, and it doesn't count. Put together ShopRite, Trader Joe's, Save-A-Lot flowers, put them all together in a vase. Here's a do-it-yourself, honey. Is that going to work? No, now it's something that your daughter might do for you, Dad, and you go, this is great. You put this together yourself. My gosh, I can't believe you took 3 different types of flowers and put them in one vase, and you're giving it to me for Valentine's Day. And that'll work if she's 10. You, not 10, going to your wife of some years, here are some flowers, honey. And she's looking at them like, did these come from the good florist? Because she knows the good florist. Did these come from the good florist? And she's looking at them and and they're little tiny at the bottom of the stem says Joe's. Trader Joe's? You got these at Trader Joe's? Oh my gosh, it doesn't count. No way. Do it yourself does not count for Valentine's Day. And the other trap is their birthday. These are the 2 most treacherous holidays for men, Valentine's Day and her birthday, because she knows exactly what type of flowers, how much you should spend, the minimum you should spend, and how you should give it to her. And here's the trick, gentlemen. You and I don't have that map. We don't know when all of those things are supposed to happen. We don't know what those gifts are. We're not given that pass. We're supposed to guess. I'm Walter Sterling. Good evening. Another Side of Midnight for T.J. McCormack on the Red Apple Audio Network. It's Valentine's Day. And it's a great day if you're 9 or if you're rich. If you can give her what she really wants, which is the car, the $1,000 cashmere sweater, the vacation in Bermuda. If you can do that, it's a great day for you. You're going to win. You'll be fine. But for the rest of us, the suggestion of gathering some flowers at ShopRite and Kroger's and putting them in a vase for her, a do-it-yourself Valentine, she'll love it. No, you're dead. No, forget it. It's a trap holiday. We're ruined. Maybe you're thinking about going out on a date for the first time. And you wonder, what is the minimum that I should be prepared to spend on a date? What is the minimum I should spend on a date?
What's the most a man should spend on a first date?
Well, I feel like there should be like a minimum, but not a most. If you want to go, beyond, that's on you. But like a minimum, I feel like if I'm going to get ready and I'm going to use all my products to come out with you, I need like a minimum of $200. A minimum, and that's like being nice. And
what does a man get in return for that?
My presence.
But aren't you having his presence within you already?
I hear you, but no. No. I mean, like, I'm here to get to know you. I'm here to get to know you. You invited me out.
But he has to drop $200.
Yeah. Because
minimum.
Yeah. Because you invited me out.
Just because you have to do your makeup?
Because I have to... Okay, so we're going to do the math. My moisturizer is $400. My eye cream is $300. My serum is like another $300. My makeup, not included. So if I have to spend, that's my money. I'm spending my money on these products. I'm going to use these products.
Who are you using them for, though?
For myself.
Okay.
But I'm going to use these products and I'm going to show up because it's not like I'm going to show up in sweats.
The man doesn't owe you anything if you're just getting to know each other.
If you're inviting me out, you owe me a date.
How about you just come over and drink wine and let's watch Netflix?
I'm not your friend. I'm not, no.
You see, gentlemen, no matter what romantic notion you may hear from most women, the fact is most women have a price in their head. And they also have expectations as to what we are supposed to do. And the list of things that you and I are supposed to do as guys is very different. As I've explained to my friends who are about to get married, my guy friends who are about to get married, do not be fooled. No matter what she says to you about the wedding, the party after, the reception, and she says, what do you think of this tablecloth, George? How do you feel about this tablecloth, George? You go, well, it's, I'd really think it should be pink. What? I really think it should be a black tablecloth. What? No. You will never win the discussion of what you think should be at the wedding, at the reception. Do you know why? Because when you were 8 years old, as a guy, did you imagine what your wedding should be? No. She did. From 8 till today, your fiancé knew in her head what she wanted at her wedding. She had a very firm map. Everything from the location to who should do the service, how many people should be there, which people should be there, and then the reception after, exactly what to serve, and where it should be, and how many people should be invited. She has decided what the wedding should be since she was 8. But she has a trick, much like Valentine's Day or her birthday. And the trick is, what do you think of this tablecloth, George? And it's like a game of Battleship. Remember the game of Battleship where you had to guess where the battleship was and then bomb it? Same thing. You have to guess the color of the tablecloth. If you get it wrong, you're an insensitive man. And you haven't been paying attention to her, and you don't really know her well enough, maybe she shouldn't marry you. If you don't have an opinion, listen, you're the expert on tablecloths, hon. You get whatever kind of tablecloth you want. Don't you care about our wedding? Aren't you concerned about what our friends think? Of course you're not concerned about what your friends think. You want to go to the wedding, get it over with, eat food, get drunk, go on the honeymoon. That's what the guy wants to do. The guy's agenda for wedding day is, please let me get this over with. Let me eat a lot. Let me get drunk and go on the honeymoon. That is the entire agenda of any groom. Any groom has that agenda. Meanwhile, your fiancée, she has a completely different agenda. She is landing. She has landed you, and she is landing. She does not want you to suggest a glide path, a plane, a landing zone, passengers. She wants you to have really nothing to do with it other than to make sure it happens and that you show up and you don't say anything stupid to her mother. Because from this point on, from the wedding on, everything you say will be stupid to her mother. The rest of your life, everything you're going to say is stupid to your mother. Don't start at the wedding. And I will suggest this to you, my friend, because I learned. I am sharing my experience, strength, and hope with you. I made the ultimate mistake. I had a very strong opinion about where to get married. The rest I didn't care. But I had a strong opinion about where to get married, and it included getting married the same place we had the reception. This was an enormous mistake. My wife wanted to get married in the church. Now, I didn't say a church, in the church, the Catholic Church. She wanted to get married in the church. And I didn't want to drag troops. I didn't want to drag people all over the inside of a busy city on a Saturday. I wanted to get married, stay in one spot. The thought of getting on a wedding bus, I avoided things like party buses my whole life. That's what I thought. And somehow or another, I convinced her we should get married where we're having the reception. The rest of it, I didn't care about. Well, we've been married a while, and about once or twice a year, that crops up. This was a big mistake. Do not make this mistake, ladies and gentlemen. Those are my deep Valentine Day thoughts. And to compound it, I happen to have 3 daughters. And they all kind of expect Valentine things from me, and they should be a little past that. One of the dumbest things that's happened, do you remember when you were in school, right when they were just putting in electricity? Remember when you were in school and you got those little Valentine cards? You got a box of 32 of them, and you filled them out and gave them to every kid in the class, and every kid in the class had 30 Valentine cards, and every kid in the class got cards from the other ones, and you hoped maybe that Caitlin you had a crush on would give you one, right? They don't do that anymore. Do you realize that? Wokeland has eliminated those cards. It is not acceptable for every kid to have to give out a Valentine card to every other kid. And this is on our great list of conspiracy theories that you and I are going to share and discuss tonight. Because humans, that's you and me, humans have a very interesting relationship with conspiracies. And I'm going to share that with you coming up in just seconds. My name is Walter Sterling, and this is Another Side of Midnight for T.J. McCormack on the Red Apple Audio Network.
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with T.J. McCormack, 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist T.J. McCormack.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's T.J. McCormack.
T.J. McCormack Show, Another Side of Midnight. Walter Sterling on the Red Apple Audio Network. Good evening. It's Valentine's Day, and that means my 14-year-old is 14. She turns 14 on the 14th. She has waited for her whole life for this very Valentine's Day. And we had a little bit of a choice there around the time she was born. And we could have had her today or a week from now, depending on the doctor's schedule. And we debated because we thought, if it's Valentine's Day on her birthday and she doesn't have a date, this might not work out well for her head. And my wife said, no, she's our kid. She's going to have a date. Now that we know Samantha, that's just never going to be a problem. So Samantha, happy 14th birthday on the 14th. The Daddy is proud of you. And we are proud to be on the Odyssey. What did I say? Did I say that? That's it. That's the end of my career. On the Red Apple Audio Network. See, audio played in my head. The Red Apple Audio Network, Another Side of Midnight. T.J. McCormack Show with Walter M. Sterling. Good evening. Now, where were we? I was about to do something very exciting. Oh, conspiracies. It is easy to make fun of people who believe in conspiracy theories and to mock radio shows that cover conspiracy theories and that take them very seriously, that spend a lot of time going down the rabbit hole. You know what I mean? Going down the rabbit hole. Let me suggest that considering conspiracy theories is the difference between humans and other mammals. Do dolphins have conspiracy theories? No. Do whales have conspiracy theories? No, they don't. Squirrels, you think right now those squirrels outside that are annoying you in the morning, they have conspiracy theories? I don't think so. I think the squirrel wakes up and they go, where's my, where are those nuts I put in there in June? By the way, interesting fact about squirrels, they don't remember where the nuts are. They don't. They have to dig around all spring to find those nuts. They vaguely remember where they are, but they don't really remember. Now, if they can't remember where their nuts are, which is really their only job, do you think they have conspiracy theories? No, they don't. You and I have conspiracy theories. You and I are able to think about ideas to such a degree that we can come up with endless possibilities. It also is a salute to our economy and our democracy. Because if we had to spend all day looking for food, standing in line at the grocery store for free food, like Russia in the 70s, if we had to survive all day, just go into survive mode, where am I going to sleep? Where am I going to eat? How am I going to dress? You don't have time for conspiracies. It is only a successful society has the luxury of thought to come up with extra ideas. What are conspiracies? Extra ideas. Here's what I know. Here's what the outcome is going to be for sure. But it could be this. Only successful, well-fed people can come up with, or it could be this. It could be more than what I think. It could be more than what I know. It is the highest form of imagination, is a conspiracy. Do not think for 1 second that it is a trivial pursuit. It is, in fact, a robust pursuit of the human brain that is only allowed to people who are successful in their imagination, their ability to have food, their ability to have shelter and clothes. It's only an advanced society that has conspiracy theories. And one of my favorite ones that I've heard discussed many times, and so have you, is about the men in black. That you see a UFO, you see an alien, you go to report it, you call it to somebody, you call your friend in the Army, the FBI, they come and check it out, and then the next day the men in black come and they erase your memory, and you got a hit movie, right? Let me share something with you, because I want you, I'm sharing this with you because I want you to understand my worldview about conspiracies and all of these fascinating conversations. Fascinating, not trivial, not silly, important. My father worked at Bell Telephone Laboratories. Now, Bell Telephone Laboratory among the UFO community is one of those institutions, one of those organizations that repurposed UFO technology. And in the 60s, at Bell Telephone Laboratories, you could see fiber optics, touch-tone phones, picture phones, lasers, night vision, on and on. They were not in the marketplace yet, and the reason they were not in the marketplace is fascinating. I'll tell you in a second why fiber optics existed in 1960, but it wasn't in your home until last year. There's a reason for that. But they had it, and they knew how it worked, and they knew what to do with it. in the 50s and 60s, my father, who worked for Bell Telephone Laboratories, when you're a kid and your dad or your mom makes a business trip and leaves the house for 2 or 3 days, and it's unusual, maybe they only did it once or twice a year, it's kind of a traumatic event. It's a little scary for mom or dad to go away for a couple of days, especially if you're stuck with grandma or grandpa or the strange uncle. It's just not the same. They don't make the soup right. They don't know how to make grilled cheese. It's a whole thing. You got to argue with them over when you go to bed. Your parents let you go to bed way too late. La, 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 la. Okay. My dad only made business trips to one place, Roswell, New Mexico. He went to Roswell, New Mexico for Bell Labs. And later in life, when I started to have a list of questions, as you would, I said, you went to Roswell, New Mexico on your business trips? Yeah. I said, what for? He said, well, it was weird because I had top security clearance and I didn't need it. I didn't need it to do what they sent me there to do. And I figured, well, he brought back technology. He found the transistor in a field in Roswell. He didn't, he was sent to Roswell, New Mexico by Bell Labs to buy as much land as he could. To buy as much land as he could. That's why he was sent to Roswell, New Mexico. And I'm like, wait a minute, Dad. Bell Labs owns Roswell, New Mexico? He said, yeah, I bought up most of the land. And I'm fascinated by this, right? As you would be. The next day, I had follow-up questions. And I said to my dad, Dad, remember when you told me you went to Roswell, New Mexico, and you bought up all the land and you had top security clearance? Remember that? Remember when you told me that 2 days ago? What are you talking about? Dad, you made your business trips to Roswell, New Mexico. You bought up all the land. I have some other questions about this. What are you talking about? I never said that to you. I never said anything like that to you. Now, I also know my dad wrote the business plan for the chairman of Bell Labs, wrote the speech for the Telstar satellite. He knew some stuff. But, oh my gosh, in 2 days he seemed to forget all of it. I'm Walter Sterling for TJ McCormack on Another Side of Midnight, and you and I can talk to each other. It's a live phone. It's a live radio show. Here's my phone number, 800-848-9222. Alan from Boston, welcome to Another Side of Midnight. Hi, Alan.
Yeah, that was some story with you and your dad, but to me, Valentine's Day is just another bootleg holiday. But, as a guy, you better not mix it up. And, you hear people say, well, how much should you spend? Listen, let me just get the cat out of the bag here. Women will go out with cheap guys. Now, you might scratch your head, the audience scratching their head. What do you mean? Well, girlfriends cost money, right? A cheap guy will not cheat on you then. And that is appealing to the ladies out there. A guy who's loyal to them. Basically, a guy they could probably put a leash on him and basically can control the show. And, but from a guy's point of view, don't ever, miss holidays like Valentine's Day or her birthday or an anniversary. I mean, listen, you could be the greatest guy in the world. You miss those days, you're going to be in the doghouse, regardless of what you do. And if you're picking her up on a date, you're going out with her, I would think you should pick her up in a car or get at least a rented limo or something. I mean, go out with a girl on Valentine's Day or her birthday on a train, and the train is rattling back and forth, and every guy in the train, if she's good looking, they're all scoping her down, So I think guys don't really give much thought to date or Valentine's Day and stuff like that. Women will plan it out in advance. They'll consult with their girlfriends and everything. And guys will just, they'll watch the ball game, slug down a beer and say, tomorrow, tomorrow's Valentine's Day, But the thing is, people get mad when you say that, but it is true. You know, women will go out with cheap guys, so you don't have to worry. They'll go out with ugly guys if they got $1 billion in the bank. You know, Walt? And the thing is, you also have to worry about, you know, is the girl a gold digger? Are guys gold diggers? I don't know. Is there such as a guy who's a gold digger, right? But who knows? I never heard of a guy talk that way before.
Well, guys who are gold diggers are players. They live in a different league. They only go out with a woman to scam her and rob her. Those are scammers. Those are the lowest forms of life. But you're saying this from such a knowledgeable perspective, my friend. Are you a cheap guy?
No, I am not. But I know people who are, and it has absolutely no consequences on them getting the good-looking lady or the good-looking, when they're looking at date and stuff. Alan, it has no consequences.
Alan, they're very impressive, and I thank you very much for calling Another Side of Midnight. TJ McCormack Show with Walter Sterling. My phone number is 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Valentine's Day is the roughest holiday for men, right up there with her birthday. You better get it right. And it doesn't necessarily matter how expensive the gift is. It had better be the right gift. I would strongly suggest against do-it-yourself gifts, unless you happen to be a master carpenter, unless you are able to craft things with glass, wood, or preferably diamonds in such a way that no other man can do it. The biggest trap, which only happens once or twice and only early in a relationship, is the woman will say, I don't really need anything. I don't really want anything. It's all right. No, just, so anything little will be fine. Oh, you're dead. If you get something little at that point, or let's say you get a household product. For example, she's been having trouble getting a drain in the bathtub to go down quickly, and you get one of those bottles of chemicals from the TikTok shop, the powder you pour in and it explodes the drain and everything drains. If you get her that, there isn't going to be a second shower. That romantic shower you had with her early in the relationship, there's not going to be another shower. Trust me on this. 800-848-9222. 800-948-9222. What did I want to tell you about? Because this is so important to me. It's no. It's okay, got it. I wanted, because I had so many things I want to talk to you about tonight. I wanted to get to the right one right away. Conspiracies. At this moment, the most top of mind conspiracy is everything that's taking place with the Epstein trials. And as I listen to the information on the Epstein trials roll out, I am amazed that we are now at that point in the river where there's a log across the river and your canoe cannot go any further unless you're willing to suspend all safety and take the canoe over the log and hit the rapids. Now, what do we know so far? For sure, we know a number of incredibly rich men were in touch with Jeffrey Epstein for no apparent reason. We know that he had no particular math or finance skills, is not known in any financial sector as somebody who actually established financial transactions, did not do any traditional business at all, like to say, I only do business with people who have $1 billion. And if you're a certain type of guy with a certain type of ego, and you hear, I only do business with people with $1 billion, and you're thinking, I have $1 billion, he got you right there. He didn't, you don't say to him, prove to me that you do business with only people with $1 billion. You look at the trappings. What are the trappings? This guy had the largest private home in Manhattan. To anybody who lives in New York City, that's the CV. That's the proof enough. You have the largest private home in Manhattan, which, by the way, was in his name. That's all they needed to know. They believed he was a billionaire right there. But he wasn't a billionaire. He was a scammer backed by people like Larry Wexler, the founder of The Limited, actually founded by his mother, owner of Victoria's Secrets, owner of Banana Republic, and The Gap. But that's what we see. That is literally the window dressing. But that's not really the business he was in, was it? He was a clothing manufacturer. And what do we know about clothing manufacturers? We know they need to get their goods and services from the factory to retail stores. Well, how do they go from the factory to retail stores? On trucks. Who drives the trucks? Union drivers. Union drivers. What do we know about union drivers? That's right. I believe it starts right there. And somewhere in that equation, people needed people. An organization, a country, the CIA, Mossad, some powerful organization needed to get some information on some rich, powerful millionaires in America who were controlling businesses of interest, certain types of businesses of interest, a honeypot, a blackmail scheme. Okay, that's what we know. That's a lot. But if we go any further, we're going to hit the log in the river. And coming up in just seconds, let's you and I go a little further and see what's on the other side of the log in the river. Conspiracy theories. Another side of midnight. TJ McCormack Show with Walter M. Sterling on the Red Apple Audio Network.
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack, 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormack.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
The Red Apple Audio Network with Walter M. Sterling for TJ McCormack. Valentine's Day. Yes, you survived so far, but let's see what happens. And it's live. I have a phone number. You ready? 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Pete in Staten Island, welcome to the Red Apple Audio Network. Hi. Hello, Pete. Hello.
Yes. Hi, Walter.
Hey, buddy.
It's a pleasure to speak to you.
You too.
I have a lot of things on my mind, but I'll try to give it abbreviated because there's a lot of other callers, and I want to be courteous. But I never, you and I are a little bit the opposite. My daughter was conceived on Valentine's Day and born on November 9th.
That's what she told you? That's what she told you?
Well, no, that's what I know because I know when we had my daughter because we planned it out.
Yeah.
All right? Because my wife was Jewish, I was Catholic, and I wanted to make sure that everything was set up in order. We were never going to have any problems.
All right, now, wait. Stop right there. That was far more interesting than what you're about to say. How did you convince her family to let you marry her?
I met her on the bus, and some guy was bothering her. So I came over and I said, "Hey, cousin Barbara, you never called me, man. Don't worry about you." Gave her a kiss on the cheek. The guy got up. He went to the back of the bus. I sat down. I gave her my phone number, and she gave me hers. I called her about a week later. I said, "Would you like to go out? Maybe Saturday?" I called on a Friday. She said, "Well, I have a date on Saturday, but I'll break it." So at that point, I said, wow, that's good.
See, now that's the Valentine story I want to hear. That's a Valentine story. I am so glad I asked you the most important question when you're marrying a nice Jewish girl. Good for you, my friend. Now, tell me what you wanted to tell me.
Well, my mom always said, you're always sure who your mother is, but never could be too sure who your dad is. So my mother said to me, you raise the child in whatever religion the mother is. So I didn't have no problem. That was it. It was what Mom said when I go. Because before that, I worked and I dated the most beautiful, wonderful singers in the 70s. From Linda Ronstadt, Carly Simon, Blonde Deborah Harry, and also the last one was Lita Ford. And she came out with this song, Kiss for Deadly, and now she went to fame with Ozzy Osbourne, When I Close My Eyes. But this was the heyday, and I was a stagehand for NBC plus legitimate theater, and that's how I met all these women. And I also did engineering work. I became a lighting director, and then I moved on.
Now listen. Hey, listen, Pete, are you trying to get a job here? Is this why you're giving me your resume?
No.
Right.
I may be on the air at your station one day because I already did work with Frankie Russo, who used to be on that.
You're on the air now.
Yes. Oh, I'm on the. I love talking on the radio. I had the pleasure of being at the party that I was invited with Vinny Medugno for Christmas.
Yeah, I wasn't invited.
Oh, wow. You should have been invited. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And the Caspatides, a wonderful host.
Yeah, I wasn't invited.
Oh, you should have been.
Yeah, I should have been. I'm on this station all the time. It's an honor to be on the Red Apple Audio Network station in New York. I'm on it all the time. I wasn't invited to any of the above parties.
Wow.
I know. All right, now listen, Pete, I got one thing I got to ask you, and I really do appreciate the call. The one thing I want to ask you is I worked at NBC in the 70s and the 80s. And
okay, you probably saw me there.
Well, let me tell you what job I saw. Every day into the radio studios, twice a day, a uniformed man would come in, properly uniformed, and he'd fill the water pitchers in the studio, wouldn't talk to anybody, and then he'd leave. Twice a day he did this. Never saw it before or since. Finally, I asked around, I said, who is this guy? Oh, he's in the stagehands union. What? Yeah, it was part of the settlement when they stopped producing dramas and comedies and productions on radio, and they eliminated the stagehands from audio, from radio. The settlement was one guy. They kept one stagehand union guy to fill the water pitchers in the radio studios. Was that you?
No, but I know who it was because Robin Quivers and I had our birthday on the same day, August 8th. So I would always come up to studio. At that point, Soupy Sales was up there, Don Imus was up there, and Howard Stern. And I would come up there and always on August 8th and have a cake or something for Robin. And I got along very good with Howard Stern and all of them because I was a zany guy. I was an outsider in Local 1, which was a father and son union.
There you go. A father and son union. Hey, Pete from Staten Island, thank you very much for calling the Red Apple Audio Network at 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. David in Pennsylvania, welcome to the Red Apple Audio Network.
My speakerphone. TJ.
It's not TJ? No, it's not TJ. TJ's show, but he's off tonight. I'm Walter Sterling. Hi.
Walter, yeah, I had an uncle named Walter, good man. He retired to Florida and went down to see him one time, and he was doing just fine, riding his bike around and around Tampa and Bradenton, that general area down there. I can't remember specifically.
David, thank you very much for calling. Thanks very much for calling the Red Apple Audio Network at 800-848-9222. I didn't feel the need to take a tour of Florida, did you? I didn't feel that. We're at the point with the Epstein files, we're going along. We're seeing why 3 million pages weren't released. It's because there was nothing in them. It's nonsense. Poor Cindy. The wife of Robert Kennedy, Hines, Cheryl Hines, she's in it 18 times. She's saying, I never met him. I never talked to him. But she's in it 18 times. Why is she in it 18 times? Because he called her and left messages 18 times. And therefore her name appears in the Epstein files. Just because somebody's name appears doesn't mean they did anything or knew him or nothing, because every single thing this guy did for 20 years, they got in discovery every paper, every piece of paper related to it. And that's a lot of why it wasn't released, because a lot of it is pointless. Just releasing it is a pain in the neck that nobody needed. And the real crimes that were done, the things that were done to women, if they were done to women, which they clearly were, because that's why that Ghislaine, finally you and I know how to pronounce Ghislaine, is in jail, and Epstein was arrested and put in jail. That only happens when you're sure. Okay. But the conversation goes to, he was a blackmailer, young girls were involved, gee, who knew? It was a honeypot operation. They wanted some software or product or secrets of certain corporations in the U.S. The fastest way to get it in their minds was to blackmail some of the CEOs. That's it. That's what we know. Now you start to go over the log in the middle of the stream. When you're going down on a canoe stream and you hit a log because the rapids are on the other side of it, now is when the crazies come out. And what are the crazy conversations? What are the crazy conversations? It goes quickly to Pizzagate, that these high-level elites were involved with pedophilia. And they were children, not 17-year-olds, children, pedophilia, and involved with cannibalism and eating children. It's going there. And here's evidence that they were eating children. Now we're in conspiracy theory land. And then every now and then little pieces will drop out that, gee, that might be true, it might not be true. But let me share with you a story that I think you know, but I bet you forgot. It's the story of the We Care Nursery School. The story of the We Care Nursery School in Maplewood, New Jersey. I will tell you this story, and you're going to go, oh, I completely forgot. It's Another Side of Midnight, TJ McCormack Show with Walter M. Sterling. We Care Nursery School. In the early 80s, late 70s, Maplewood was a traditional, typical, suburban community of middle-class families where Dad got on a train, went into New York every day to do his business, like a million other tiny communities around a big city where Dad went in and commuted to work. And the other part of that is Mom stayed home. Mom stayed home. From the dawn of those suburbs in the 1920s to the 1970s, Mom stayed home. Elementary schools didn't have cafeterias because the kids went home for lunch. What? Yeah, they had an hour for lunch. They walked home for lunch all by themselves. And along the way, passing every house, a mom was looking outside to see which kid was passing by, and they knew which kids needed to be passing by and who they better not be walking with or who they better be walking with. Those were the suburbs. That was lunchtime in the suburbs in the 50s, 60s, 70s. But right about 1978, many moms went to work, started to go to work. The percent every year of moms going to work increased dramatically every year. And that meant everything changed. Because it meant that at 3 o'clock, when school let out, or 3:15, Mom wasn't home. Mom was at work, and she wasn't coming home till 5:30. They had to do something with their children to keep them safe and busy between school ending and Mom coming home. Daycare, babysitters, nannies, all of that began in the late 70s. But the parents had no emotional infrastructure for dealing with it. Those moms were not raised by moms who went to work or grandmothers who went to work. Their mothers were home. Their mothers couldn't believe they were going to work. So not only did they have the challenge of going to work, having to take care of their kids after school, their own mothers were like, what are you doing? Why are you going to work? Doesn't he make enough money? Who's going to be home? Who's going to be home with the children? That was grinding away at them. They were guilty and feeling guilty about sending their kids to daycare. And it culminated in the We Care nursery school scandal and the McMartin preschool scandal, where dozens and dozens of kids were questioned because one kid said, a 4-year-old boy with a rectal thermometer put in by a nurse, said to the nurse, "That's what my teacher does to me at nap time at school." That's all the 4-year-old said to the nurse. "That's what my teacher does to me at nap time at school." And the result was every single kid at the We Care nursery school was interviewed. Every single kid was tested for sexual abuse, sexual assault, physically examined, given many, many, many interviews, and ultimately the teacher at that school was put in jail and was planned to be left in jail for 27 years with a $20,000 fine. She was found guilty. And you got to understand, the kids, when they were interviewed, during the interviews, children made accusations such as she forced them to lick peanut butter off of her genitals. She penetrated their rectums and vaginas with knives, forks, and other objects. That she forced on them to eat cakes of human excrement. That's what the kids said. And this was 200 kids were interviewed and said things like this. It was impossible. Didn't even pass the maybe test. And even the prosecutors were like, well, you know. But they all of that collective guilt about going to work, not being home, put that woman in jail. That's what's in the rapids in the Epstein trial. I'm Walter M. Sterling. Another Side of Midnight, TJ McCormack Show, Red Apple Audio Network.
It's Another Side of Midnight, 77 WABC. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Walter M. Sterling for TJ McCormack, Another Side of Midnight on the Red Apple Audio Network. It's great to be with you on Valentine's Day. I mean, this is my fantasy on Valentine's Day, to be with you. My phone number is 800-848-9222. Oh, yeah, this is live. It's minus 13 degrees in the North Pole and 57 degrees in Bermuda, 67 degrees in Miami right now. Yes. Where should we be? Yeah. Dave Scott is a known Canadian. He is an expert on conspiracy theories. He knows many conspiracy theories. He is the host of a Canadian radio show called Spaced Out Radio, available on YouTube. You can hear every episode he ever did. A great broadcaster and a good friend. Dave Scott, welcome from Canada to Another Side of Midnight with Walter Sterling. Hi.
Thank you, my friend. It is always a pleasure to share the airwaves to you and a whole group of new listeners who will find out about the high strangeness that I am talking about out here in Canada.
Now, the thing about Dave Scott is that he's an actual journalist. He's not a whack job. When he hears about new conspiracy ideas, UFOs, Bigfoot, time portals, he actually investigates them like an actual newsman as opposed to just reading the book cover. This is a real guy, an official guy. And by the way, let me just check something since you're a known Canadian. In Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan Beach, it's 18 degrees right now. Just thought you should know. Whereas in Sydney, Australia, also vaguely Canadian, it's 73 because it's summer in Sydney, Australia.
Yeah, I am longing for the warm temperatures again. You know, you can only handle so much cold before you just kind of get sick of it. And I'm at the point where I'm sick of the cold now.
Now you, having delved in this research for decades, there must be 3 or 4 conspiracy theories, 3 or 4 scary stories that you know that you'd like to share that are at the very top of Dave Scott's list.
Well, the first one that I want to get to is a scary story from my area here, okay? Because there is a legend at our local museum of a lady named Agnes McVie.
And I want to hear about Agnes McVie, and I won't interrupt you again, but you mentioned your area, your particular location. Where is that? Where is that?
I live about 6.5 hours northeast of Vancouver in a small little hamlet called 100 Mile House, British Columbia, which is in the Caribou region, about a third of the way up the province. And it is a nice, beautiful area that I have the Cascade Mountains on my left, I have the Rocky Mountains on my right, and I'm stuck on top of the mountains in between. So Agnes McVie is a strange story and legend in my area because in the 1800s, about 1860, 1870, in our area was the Gold Rush Trail. Now, the Gold Rush Trail actually started as the Silver Rush Trail in Virginia City and Carson City, Nevada. Okay? And then that route, as the prospectors and miners from all over the world were trying to find their riches, they made their way north as they were trying to find more gold up towards the Klondike of the Yukon and Alaska. One of the places was in my little town called 100 Mile House. And every so often, every mile or two, along this very dirty, muddy, rocky trail that they called the Gold Rush Trail, they would have what they call post houses. So the post houses were like modern-day hostels, where a prospector going on up to the Klondike would maybe stop for a sleep, a hot meal, maybe, just maybe, find a young lady of the night who is working there, games of poker, warm beer, and that's how they kept their horses and their road trips safe. But it was when the prospectors came down is when danger started. Now, how does this tie to the legend of Agnes McVie? Well, Agnes McVie was a lady who came from Scotland. It is alleged that she actually killed 2 people in Scotland before escaping the police, hopping on a boat to Canada. She then traveled across Canada to the west coast of British Columbia, where she was seen and recorded as being a new citizen, a newcomer to British Columbia back around 1865, 1866. She made her way into the interior when she and her husband, John, found out that there was this gold rush going on. So they ended up purchasing what they call a post house in our area. Now, Agnes was an evil woman. She didn't have feelings for anybody. She didn't like anybody. But what she did like, Walter, was gold and riches. So when the prospectors would come down with their riches, heading back to the United States or China or India, wherever they came from, she would put them up in her post house. And she would treat them nicely. She would give them beer. She would give them a nice young lady of the night. She would feed the horses and everything until they passed out. That's when she would kill these prospectors. And allegedly, she killed 62 men to steal their gold and to keep it for herself. Now, the weird part about this story is nobody knows if Agnes actually existed. There is no record of her actually owning the post house up here. It is all said to be rumored throughout history that she was a murderous, villainous type woman. And now it is up to people like myself who do ghost hunting at the museum to try and bring her around to find out if her story is actually true, if she will communicate with us from the other side. And who knows? Maybe, just maybe, she'll tell us where the gold is.
When are you planning a seance to find out?
Well, we're going to be starting here in about a month and a half to try and find out if we can start contacting Agnes. Now, we're just starting to put promotions out as I have a brand new company that is starting a paranormal tourism company at the museum to help not only build the area for new tourism, but to help raise money for the museum as well, which is nonprofit.
All right, this is Dave Scott, a known Canadian. He knows ghost stories and UFO stories. A lot of his show and his podcasts are about UFOs. Dave Scott in Canada, do you have a favorite UFO scary story?
Well, the scariest story that I have heard out of the UFO world deals with alien abduction. Now, many people, and it is figured right now, according to recent statistics by MUFON and others that just came out, and Newfork out of Washington State, that claim that there is approximately around 1 million people in the United States who claim that they have had some sort of alien abduction happen in their life. Now, the scariest ones of all are the ones that, to me, involve children. This is where it gets scary because you really don't have control. Probably one of the most famous cases of this actually happening was with the gentleman named Whitley Strieber. Now, Whitley Strieber wrote the book Communion. Christopher Walken starred in the movie called Communion, where he was actually taken. Okay, and he was taken often by these tall gray beings with giant black eyes and big bulbous grayish heads. And one day, Whitley was taken onto a craft. He looks to his left, and he sees his 9-year-old son sitting beside him, looking like a statue, just staring straight ahead. And what the aliens actually want with children, we haven't been able to figure out. A lot of people will claim when they are taken that they are actually used for some sort of hybridization program, that they're actually hybridized alien humanoids walking around this planet. You and I are not going to be able to tell them apart because they have so much human DNA. It is alleged that these aliens actually have no way of breeding. So what they do is they take DNA samples from sperm and eggs from women, sperm from men, and they mix it together with their own DNA to grow these artificial humans. Well, actually, I guess they wouldn't be. I guess they would be half humans in order to try and keep their own species going. Many scientists actually believe that this is something profound that is happening. In fact, it is being studied at Rice University. It is being studied at Stanford about the effects of ET contact on people and how their human brains are reacting to this. It is scary because most people don't even know it's happening. They think they're having just a nightmarish dream as the contact is going on. We have heard people who claim that they have had surgeries, having their arms broken and then put back together, having needles put into their eyeballs, or waking up in the middle of the night with long scratches on their body or red dots that just seem to appear out of nowhere. And for a lot of these situations, the abductions don't seem to be very pleasant. They seem to be hurting people. And the worst part about it is the people who are being abducted have absolutely no control over it. They can't get it to stop. Whether they are yelling in the name of Jesus Christ, leave me alone, the alien species don't seem to care. They just want whatever they want. And alien abduction is one of the scariest topics that I deal with.
Have you met any of the people who claim to have been abducted? I
personally have been abducted.
Would you care to share that with us tonight?
I would love to share that with you.
Wait. I want you to have the time to do it. So You're going to have to give me a moment. You and I are talking to Dave Scott, who has been abducted and is going to share his abduction story, UFO abduction. He's been abducted more than once, and we'll talk to him about that. Dave Scott is a broadcaster in Canada. He does a radio show called Spaced Out Radio. You can hear it on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. And he's got a website, spacedoutradio.com. And you can talk to him. The phone number is 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. I'm Walter M. Sterling, and this is Another Side of Midnight, TJ McCormack's show. It is a treat to be here, and I have to do 60 seconds on why it's a treat. I'm under no obligation by the NAB to do this, but I feel compelled to do it. The Red Apple Audio Network is owned and operated by Chad Lopez and John Katsimatidis. These are broadcasters, and people in broadcasting know when I say they are broadcasters, they know what I mean. There are people who own radio stations who are businessmen, landowners, helicopter operators, but there's this very special group that are broadcasters that understand that the reason we're on the radio and the reason you listen to the radio is to be entertained. They get that. It is rare. The other thing that's great about the Red Apple Audio Network, it is one of the happiest places I get to work. The people at the Red Apple Audio Network know what the hell they're doing. Things are handled. Tony in the control room, things are handled. It's done. There's no drama. There's no unnecessary noise. There are no extra words. You know a real broadcaster when the answers are yes, no, maybe, and then there are no extra words. That's everybody I deal with at the Red Apple Audio Network. And the radio stations on the Red Apple Audio Network, well, they keep getting more listeners. The audiences go up. Rather than, the industry's dying, radio's dying. Radio's not dying at all. You look at the Nielsen's, it is the same percent of the population that's listening to the radio today that listened to it in 1970. Same percent of the people who listen to the radio on any given day today as listened in 1970. It's as stable as could be. Hey, I get nothing for saying what I'm about to say. You want a result for your business? This is where you advertise. Stable. You put an ad on primetime TV, on a network show on primetime TV, you know what you can be guaranteed? Listen to me. That from the time you place that ad till the time it airs, that audience will get smaller. Yes, that's what I said. From the time you place the ad on a network television show till the time it airs, that audience will get smaller. On the radio, on this show, on this network, the Red Apple Audio Network, it's going to grow. I'm Walter M. Sterling, Another Side of Midnight, TJ McCormack Show, every damn night.
All night long. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormack.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Another Side of Midnight, Walter M. Sterling for TJ McCormack. Valentine's Day, welcome. It's a live line, 800-888-9222. You and I are talking with Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio, a Canadian radio show, yes. And I bring on a Canadian radio show because that is an entire country based on conspiracies, theories, and rumors. And what can be better on the radio than conspiracies, theories, and rumors from a true Canadian? Dave Scott, welcome to Another Side of Midnight. Dave has been abducted. He has been abducted by aliens. He's been abducted into UFOs. His story is terrifying, and it's happened to him more than once, and he's not a drunk. Dave Scott, share with us this story of your abduction, and we'll try to be sensitive about it. I know it's hard to tell.
Well, you know what? I want to say thank you for at least prefacing that I am not a drunk. That is awesome. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. And I'm actually not even being sarcastic about that. It actually made me smile.
You got it, buddy.
All right. So the last time that I know I got taken was about a year and a half ago, where I went to bed after my show. By the time I get to bed after my show is done, it's about 1 a.m. Pacific time because I'm on the West Coast. And all of a sudden, I woke up at 2 a.m. to a dream. And a lot of alien abductions actually start out as dreams. And this one really didn't make sense because my father was there, my cousin was there, and my best friend going through elementary school and high school was there. And in this dream, we were in this dark black alley, and there was only like moonlight, one street light that was kind of giving us some light. And I don't remember what the conversation was. However, what I do remember was I had a cell phone that I had put on this stairwell. And we were like, okay, guys, let's get going. Let me grab my cell phone. The weird part about it was my cell phone was one of those old Nokia indestructible ones that if you found it in your drawer today, it probably still has battery charge left in it, one of those ones. And I'd never had one of those phones before. But in this dream, I did, and I dropped it, and it went bang. As soon as I went to pick up the phone from the ground in my dream, I started feeling what a lot of experiencers feel before they are abducted. They feel this energy, kind of like this gravitational pull, that all of a sudden you are being sucked backwards or sucked up into the air, and you have no control over it. And I remember feeling this gravitational pull in my dream, and I kind of stood up, and I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to go today. I do not want to go today. And the next thing I know, I wake up. It's 2:09 a.m. And I wake up wide awake. And I have this feeling, Walter, as I am laying facing my wife in bed, that behind me, right behind my bed, are two alien beings standing there. And all I could hear in my head was this telepathic voice. Do not turn over. They're right there. Do not turn over. They are right there. And finally, I got mad at myself. Okay. And I'm like, I do this show for a reason, for these experiences. Why am I curled up fearful right now when I should be turning over to see these aliens standing right in front of me? So I sheepishly, slowly start to roll over from my left to my right, and I'm going to take a look at them. I want to see them. Okay, these are the guys who've been taking me. And as I'm rolling over through my bedroom window, I see this giant white flash of light. And all of a sudden, it's gone. Just like a lightning bolt. Just boom, it's bright white and it's gone. And all of a sudden, the feeling of those two aliens being there is gone. It's like they just vanished with that light. So I get up because I now have to go to the bathroom like most men in their 50s. Okay, the minute you wake up in the middle of the night, what's the first thing you got to do? You got to go stand in the bathroom and do your thing. So I figure, well, I'll make my way to the bathroom. The minute my feet hit the ground in my bedroom, I immediately got frozen cold. I was fine in bed. However, the minute my feet touched the floor, I went to absolute shivers like I would be standing outside in minus 20 Fahrenheit in bare feet, shivering, cold. And I walk to the bathroom and my teeth are chattering, my body is shaking, walk to the bathroom, do my thing, and I get colder after I did that. So I figured I'm going to have a shower. Okay? I had a shower, and then I went back to bed nice and warm. I slept until my alarm went off at 7 o'clock. But something was different, Walter. Something weird was different. What happened was that when I woke up, my chest was cold, like ice cold,
right?
In the size of about a silver dollar. I had this cold spot on my chest. Now, the weird part of where that cold spot was is I was actually previous few days having a little bit of chest pain in that area. And all of a sudden, that area no longer hurt. Like, it was to the point where I was about to go to the doctors to see, am I pre-jammer? Am I pre-heart attack? Like, I was getting scared. But there was this cold spot right on my chest. And I believe, as weird as this may sound, that when I was up on that craft, when I had taken it, those aliens dropped me off back in bed when I woke up at 2:09 a.m., that they may have healed whatever was there, because my chest felt great. It felt there was no more pain.
No symptoms, no pain. Why do you think it got cold?
I don't know.
Right.
I have no idea. This is what I am baffled to understand. So here's where it gets a little bit weirder. My father lives about 4.5 hours southwest of me. And he was in that dream that night. And I wanted to see how real this was. Was it a dream? Was it Memorex? Or did it actually happen? So I call up my dad at about 8 o'clock in the morning before I hop in my vehicle to go to work. And I said, "Hey, Dad, how's it going?" He's like, "Good." He goes, "What are you calling so early for?" I said, I just have a couple of questions for you, Dad. And he goes, "My dad's a five senses Alberta boy, farm boy. He doesn't believe in any of this crap." And he goes, I said, "What time did you wake up this morning?" He goes, "Well, I got up at about 7:15. I said, "How did you sleep last night?" He goes, "Well, I woke up a couple of times, but I just went back to bed." I said, "Well, what time did you wake up in the morning? The first time last night?" He goes, "I don't know, around 2:05, 2:09, which was the exact same time that I woke up." I said, "What woke you up, Dad?" And he says to me, Walter, he goes, "I heard a big bang in the other room, like something fell on the floor, but I couldn't find anything." Now, remember, in my dream, I dropped that Nokia cell phone, and it went bang. And I started laughing. I'm like, "Oh, goodness, Dad." I said, "Well, when you got up, what were you doing?" He goes, "I was really cold. So I actually went and got a couple more blankets because I was freezing cold." I went, And I'm kind of giggling on the side because, like I said, my father doesn't believe in any of this.
Right.
But it's all coincidental of what happened to me 4.5 hours away. So I said, "How do you feel this morning, Dad?" Because my father suffers from COPD. And he goes, "You know what, son? I feel great." He goes, this is the first morning in about 2.5 years that I have not woken up coughing and wheezing with my COPD.
Amazing. And that was your first abduction?
That was my last abduction.
How many were there?
As far as I've been able to count, 8 or 9.
And you're married, and was your wife aware of any of this?
No, she wasn't. In fact, I've scared my wife a couple of times, Walter,
I'm sure,
with alien abduction. One time, I was typical dream state. It was middle of winter up here, but in my dream, it was spring. I was wearing shorts, and I saw this UFO fly over my house, and I quickly ran inside because I was on the phone, and I'm like, Bud, I got to go. I don't want to be abducted today. And as I started running from my driveway, I started not running straight. I was running up towards into the sky into this UFO.
Right.
And I kept yelling at them. I said, I don't want to be here today. I don't want you to take me today. I don't want you to take me today. Next thing I know, I wake up and I'm floating about 2 feet from my ceiling. And the minute I gained consciousness and realized where I was, I fell back into bed, and my arms flailed, and I cracked my wife right across her back. And she jumps up and says, what the hell are you doing? I said, honey, I'm sorry. I just got back.
All right, this is Dave Scott, known Canadian, expert on UFOs, has been abducted multiple times, sharing the stories of his abductions with us. The phone is live. You have questions for Dave Scott about abductions? 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. Apparently, various organizations that keep track of such things, millions of us have been abducted. Millions. My dad worked for Bell Telephone Laboratories. He bought all the land in Roswell for Bell Labs and then had trouble remembering it. My dad also, who was sort of a sane Eagle Scout kind of guy, he kept complaining about something in his upper arm, one of his upper arms. And one day, it just sort of came out. And there was a little piece of metal that was in his upper arm that had sort of just come out. And he's like, I have no idea what this is. I don't know when it went in. He wasn't in the Army. It wasn't shrapnel. But I believe that hundreds of thousands of Americans, hundreds of thousands of us have been abducted, have been in contact with UFOs, aliens, have sketchy or no memory of it, because this is the nature of it. We can't remember it. If we remember it, collectively we'd go crazy. It's why there's such speculation about whether or not the UFO files will ever be released. The truth about UFOs will ever be revealed. One of my favorite strong beliefs is that in the 1950s, President Eisenhower made a deal with the aliens. And the deal is, why don't you tell us what it is, Dave?
Well, allegedly, President Eisenhower was on a golfing charity vacation in Palm Springs, California. And then during or after the evening dinner, he seemed to disappear. Now, the media contingent that follows the president everywhere woke up in the morning and the president wasn't around, and they were wondering what happened to the president. In fact, there were rumors that President Eisenhower actually had a heart attack and may have died. Now, the truth of the story is, well, I'm not going to call it the truth. I'm going to say the official story of this was that he was flown down to Beverly Hills overnight because he broke a tooth and had a bad toothache, so he had an emergency dental surgery in Beverly Hills. However, there are people out there who say, no, that isn't the story. He actually went to what is now known as Edwards Air Force Base, and apparently an alien craft landed. There were two of them. The first species according to people who've investigated this, actually saw Eisenhower meet with one species who said, Ike, we will give you everything you want. We will give you free energy. We will give you how to extend life. We will give you free water. We will show you how it works in the universe to make this planet absolutely sustainable and life-bearing for millennia to come. However, you have to get rid of your nuclear weapons. They are no good for the future of humanity. He didn't like that because the United States was in the middle of the Cold War, and allegedly the second beings that he met with said, look, we don't care what you do. We will actually give you some of our technology. In exchange, we want to take some people to study, up to 65,000 people a year. Now, these people were supposed to be the derelict, the destitute, those who were homeless, those who were drunkards, those who were drug addicts, those who were in mental institutions at the time. People that would not technically be missed. However, after Eisenhower cut the deal, it is alleged that number continued to grow. And they never, ever stopped taking their 65,000 people a year. In fact, I interviewed a gentleman of the late Butch Witkowski a number of years ago on my show, and we were talking about these strange mutilations of cattle, horses, and even human beings who died under strange circumstances with pinpoint precision laser cuts. And Butch actually said to me that one of his friends who works at the FBI said in the United States, there are approximately 1.3 million people that go missing annually. When you whittle the number down from people who run away to people who change their identity, to people who disappear and commit suicide, to people who are kidnapped, to people who are just vanishing, it equals out, Walter, to approximately 65,000 people a year that cannot be accounted for their disappearance. It is like they just vanished off the face of the earth, never to be seen again.
And you believe that's because of the Eisenhower deal?
I think it could be possible because of the Eisenhower deal, yes.
All right, this is Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio. You can find every show he ever did at Spaced Out Radio on YouTube, and you can talk to him right now on the live line, 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. We're talking about abductions and about a deal that Eisenhower allegedly made with the aliens that I happen to believe. 800-848-9222, Another Side of Midnight. Walter M. Sterling for TJ McCormack on the Red Apple Audio Network.
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack, 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormack.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
All right, Walter M. Sterling for TJ McCormack on the Red Apple Audio Network, Another Side of Midnight. Welcome. You and I are talking to Dave Scott. Dave Scott is a broadcaster in Canada who's an expert on all things conspiratorial. But more importantly, Dave was not someone who talks to abductees, not someone who talks to people who were taken up by little green men into UFOs. He is an abductee. He has been abducted multiple times. And I'd like you to share anything else about your abduction story, because every word is fascinating to me. And you might have some questions for Dave Scott. Here's the live line. Here's the number, 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Dave, share some more.
I'll give you a scary story that happened to me on an abduction one night. And this one, to this day, still kind of freaks me out. I don't like really talking about it, but for you, Walter, and your great listeners here on Red Apple, I will share it with you. So one night, once again, for most abductees, everything starts off feeling like a dream, like you're in a dream state when you're sleeping. And what happened on this night was my wife was with me. There were people behind us. There were people in front of us, hundreds of people. And as we entered what I like to call like a not a cathedral, but like a stage, like there was going to be a concert, and there all of the seating is up, but like one of those unique Orpheum type of concert halls. Okay, and as we walked through these doors that were open, there were people in front, and I was watching these people take this square up. Like they step up onto this square, and it would move up, and it would take them to their seats. Well, my wife and I climb up on this square, and we go about halfway up, and all of a sudden it stops. And we go and sit down, and I step off first to take our seats, but they're not concert seats like you would see at Madison Square Garden or a football stadium or wherever. They are like these velvet type benches. It's like if you cut a quarter section out of a watermelon, that type of red. And we're looking down on the stage. I'm sitting first. My wife is on my left. And we're sitting there, and we are looking down. And I remember saying to my wife in this dream, I wonder who is playing tonight. She goes, I don't know. The next thing I know, I wake up. And I am looking around, trying to figure out what's going on. Everything in this auditorium is dark, except for little hallway lights, like path lights to walkways to get in and out. And I turn to look, and I look to my right, and I see my wife is passed out. And I go into a push-up position because I'm lying on my stomach, and I go to lift myself up, and something grabs the back of my head and shoves my head back down. And I'm struggling, and no matter how hard I try to do a push-up to get myself upright to see what is going on, whatever it is squeezing on my head so hard, pushing it down, that I start screaming. And the next thing I know, I'm passed out again. From there, Walter, I all of a sudden, I don't know how long later, I wake up. I swing my feet over, and I am now sitting up because I figured if I'm going to get up, I'm getting up fast, just in case I got to fight something. Okay, and a good Canadian hockey kid in me is always ready for a good fight. The next thing I know, I look down, and there's a little path right below me, like a walkway, and I see this little gray alien walking down this path. And I start yelling at him, and I'm like, I used every curse word in the book at him, and I said, I am coming back for you. Whatever you did to my head, I'm going to seek revenge on you. Get back here. Let me do it to you. But the weird, scary part about it was what followed him, because there was a little humanoid baby. And you know when toddlers just start to walk, they have that duck step that they do. Yeah. This little baby, and I knew it was a boy. I don't know why. I knew it was a boy. This little baby boy starts following this alien gray down this dark black path, this walkway. And what I remember of that baby boy was the diaper. Because the diaper was luminescent green in color. And it had, the only way I know how to describe it, it had black and luminescent red veins running through the diaper. And it was like pulsating and glowing. And then he walked into the dark, and I was like, little dude, don't go in there. Don't go in there. You come with me. And he wouldn't listen. He just followed that little alien scientist right out into the darkness.
Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio. You want to hear more Dave Scott stories? You can do it on YouTube. Spaced Out Radio is the name of his show. It's the name of his podcast, and the name of his website is spacedoutradio.com. Yes, a known Canadian, generous with your time, great stories, Dave Scott. Thank you for being on the Red Apple Audio Network. I'm Walter M. Sterling. Look at that, for T.J. McCormack on Valentine's Day. And I just think it's fair that I get in a little mention of the fact that I have a 14-year-old daughter who turns 14 today. She couldn't be more excited about she's waited her whole life to be 14 on the 14th. She's a special kid. Her name is Samantha. Now, you and I were talking before we had the great time with Dave Scott, and thank you, Dave Scott. We had a great time with Dave Scott. You and I were talking about the horror show of the Epstein files. And the fact is that what we've heard so far is logical, makes sense, right? It makes sense. This is big bucks going after big guys who have valuable products, software that can be used for spying, software that is valuable to the United States or would be valuable if we had access to it, and there may be different ways to get it. Or that this is spy work for Israel. All those scenarios, but it didn't go well for Mr. Epstein and his partner, Ghislaine. You and I didn't know how to pronounce Ghislaine until now. But now we know. And we're right at that point where we're dealing with things that are provable, real, terrible, horrible. And we're about to hit conspiracy land. Now, you and I know that the thing that separates you and me from the dolphins and the whales is our ability to have conspiracy theories. Squirrels, deer, dolphins, whales, no matter how high on the chain of intelligence an animal is, they do not have conspiracy theories. Not one humpback whale has a conspiracy theory. The only thing humpback whales think about all day and night is how to get more krill into their mouths so they don't die. The amount of food they need is remarkable. You and I can't even conceive of how much food a whale needs. They don't have time to come up with conspiracy theories. And yet, tragically, stupidly, many people think that conspiracy theories are a waste of time, trivial, unimportant. I say it proves our human condition. It proves that our species is successful. Only a successful species would have the time and energy and basic necessities met that would allow us to have the time for conspiracy theories. We'd have to have food, clothing, shelter, and the luxury of a successful society. We have a successful society. Well, the result of a successful society is art and imagination. And from art and imagination come conspiracy theories. What's about to happen with the Epstein files is it's about to go into hyperdrive of crazy. And the hyperdrive of crazy is, many will listen to it and think, well, those are conspiracy theories. And it's starting to go to cannibalism of children, Pizzagate, Hillary Clinton running a pizzeria to market children. And then I remembered something that you haven't remembered, because we've been talking about how the elites are cannibals, that the elites eat children. They always have. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but I kept remembering a story. And the story I kept remembering is Armie Hammer's story. Armie Hammer, the actor, the formerly hot actor, who disappeared. Why did he disappear?
It's almost like a neutron bomb went off in my life, right? It killed all the people. It killed me. It killed my ego. It killed all the people around me that I thought were my friends that weren't. People called me a cannibal, and everyone believed them. They're like, yep, that guy ate people. It was bizarre. It was a crisis, a spiritual crisis, an emotional crisis, and the way I saw it was, I have two options here. I can either let this destroy me, or, to the point of your podcast, I can use this as a lesson. In terms of my career as an actor, I'm nowhere.
Armie Hammer from the Arm & Hammer fortune, the ultimate Nepo baby, a remarkably wealthy family. They have been elites for decades, and there's one of their offspring, Armie. Successful actor, incredibly handsome, married, with children. Starts fooling around. Leaves a voicemail for a woman who he just started to date. And he says to the woman who he just started to date, yeah, honey, I'm all cannibal. That's the voicemail. I'm all cannibal. I'm all cannibal. He's saying this on her voicemail. Now, if you recently met a woman and you're trying to impress her on Valentine's Day, do you think you'd leave a voicemail that says, yeah, I'm all cannibal? Is that the voicemail you're going to leave? Or are you going to say, hey, let's go to Bermuda next week? I'm all cannibal. Who would say that they're all cannibal? Many said, well, he was just referring to oral sex. Do we know that, really? If you happen to enjoy oral sex, is that the voicemail you'd leave about enjoying oral sex? That you're a cannibal? It ruined him. But it goes to this other side of the ugliness of the Epstein story, which is that these people were cannibals. Many of these people were involved with him to be cannibals on this island, where probably they had an interesting bylaw which says cannibalism is legal. Maybe we'll find out that the laws of that island, which country controlled that island? That it was Epstein's island. Was it all his? Was it some autonomous archipelago? That was pretty good, an SAT word. Archipelago? Was it some autonomous archipelago where you could be a cannibal? Is that why they all went there? Because the accommodations look pretty cheesy. The photos that come out of Epstein Island look pretty cheesy. Well, why would these incredibly rich people who could own Ritz-Carltons, forget about living at them, they could own Ritz-Carltons, no sweat. Oh, yeah, you don't have a room? I'm going to buy your Ritz-Carlton. Give me that corner room I want, because by the time I get down there, I'm going to be your boss. That's what they would have at a Ritz-Carlton or a Peninsula or a Four Seasons, which is so déclassé compared to a Ritz-Carlton, right? They go to the photos that we've seen of Epstein Island. It kind of looks like a tacky place. Kind of looks like a 1950s beach club on Long Island. Looks like a 1950s beach club on Long Island. That's what it looks like. Well, therefore, why would they go there? They're going there for the luxury. It doesn't look luxurious. They must just be going for the special massages and the unusual relationships that they can establish without having to have a lot of conversation. The goal-oriented relationships they can have on Epstein Island without actually having to date and have a conversation. That might have been the appeal. I don't know. Please note also that looks to me like the big shots who went to Epstein Island were the ugliest kids in high school. It was the ugliest bunch. But now we're going to get to that point where you got millions of pages that have nothing on them or something that was redacted. And what do? Our imaginations make stuff up. That's when the conspiracy theories arrive. When we have the luxury of time and food and clothing and shelter to just make stuff up. And that's what's happening right now. We're at the cannibalism point. We're starting to see babies in bottles, deceased fetuses in bottles being held by Leonardo DiCaprio, holding it up, smiling at this. Or Justin Bieber holding it up. It's stupid pictures, right? I'm Walter M. Sterling. Another Side of Midnight, TJ McCormick Show. Walter M. Sterling for TJ McCormick on the Red Apple Audio Network.
It's Another Side of Midnight, 77 WABC. This is another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Walter M. Sterling, sitting in for TJ McCormack, Another Side of Midnight, Red Apple Audio Network. Welcome. Valentine's Day. I hope you remembered. I must celebrate my 14-year-old daughter, who has waited for 14 years to be able to say she's 14 on the 14th. That's my kid. Good evening. It's great to be with you on the Red Apple Audio Network because this is owned and operated by John Catsimatidis. And John Catsimatidis did something that's not physically possible. And I will tell you what that is in just seconds. What'd you say, Chris? Is that the name you said? Great. Chris, welcome to the Red Apple Audio Network with Walter Sterling. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm excited to talk to you. Wait 1 sec. Sorry. I'm excited to talk to you at 800-848-9222. Go ahead, Chris. Hi.
Yeah. Your opening, Walter, your
Yes,
opening guest with these abduction stories. I have a personal abduction story, but it might not necessarily be abduction as more of encounters. When I was a child, about 6 years old, my parents, we were living on Long Island, and we were permitted to stay up later as children, but there was a sleepover party we had at a neighbor's house. And so we were in the backyard, sleeping in knapsacks, And it was late, very late at night, maybe 2 in the morning. And this was around 1966, 1967. And during that time, on Long Island, you had the Grumman's, you had Fairchild, you had Republic, you had Beechcraft, and you had many other military aviation manufacturers and electronic manufacturers out there. And they were testing all kinds of things. And as you know, Grumman's was responsible for the lunar landing module that landed on the moon many times. And now Grumman's is Northrop or Northrop Grumman's, and they manufacture submarines and advanced technologies and reconnaissance avionics. And I'm a technical person, but when I was 6 years old, we were in the backyard, and we saw these three illuminated clouds that passed over the neighborhood and then hovered over us for several minutes. And they were kind of billowing and illuminated. It looked like right out of a movie that you would see, like a Steven Spielberg movie. And then later on, I inherited the family house, and I moved into Manhattan, and then I moved back to the house. But during the time when I was in Manhattan, my parents owned the house, and they would complain about that. It seemed like somebody was entering the house, but not taking anything, just entering the house. And then when I took the house over, I experienced this too, where I would lock a door leading to the outside, and then the door would be unlocked. It was very odd. I even changed the locks. Then one day, my neighbor next door comes over to my house and knocks on the door while we hear helicopters and police sirens in the neighborhood, which I thought was maybe there was a fire. And she said, "Did you see the flying saucer in my backyard?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" But Long Island has had a long history of UFO encounters because it is the spear tip for the Atlantic during World War II, was a spear tip for the Atlantic reconnaissance for submarines and fear of Nazi bombings and that type of a threat. And then during the Cold War, the same. And, of course, New York City is...
Well, let me ask you a question here, Chris. Let me ask you a question. When you were aware of this UFO visitation, when you were aware of this as a child and later, how did you feel? Were you excited or were you scared?
Well, at first we were looking at the clouds, and it was kind of, I guess the word enchanting or almost hypnotic.
Right.
But then after a period of time, we became aware that this is not normal, and we need to tell the adults. And we went in the house and woke the adults. But it was a good maybe 10 to 15 minutes that we were witnessing this prior to. Now, I have to say, as an end note, after my neighbor, this was a woman, came and informed me that there was a UFO in my backyard and police and helicopters, and she passed away quite quickly.
Radiation.
From leukemia.
Yeah, exactly. How about that, Chris? Thank you very much for calling Another Side of Midnight at 800-848-9222. Long Island has a long history of people entering homes, breaking down locks, running back to bad neighborhoods. This is a long history on Long Island. Space, dangerous, bad neighborhood. Hard to say how true this was. I happen to be a believer that we have been visited, but not necessarily by creatures from other worlds. the physics, just the physics of us being visited by another planet, they're tough. Between the radiation and the distances, difficult. I believe it's more likely that we have been visited by ourselves, that we have been visited by people from the future, our future, that at some point time travel became a realistic capability. I think that's more likely than visitors from other planets, because there'd be a lot of ways to know that. But the big story now is that on the anniversary of Roswell, it's in July, I don't remember the date, but it's in July, that because of that anniversary, that President Trump is going to release the files, that he's going to announce this is what the UFO story is, this is what's been going on, we're telling you, and that it wasn't until now that we were, quote, ready for this. You realize that the minute that is revealed, if it is true that there have been visitors and are regularly being visited by people from other planets, if that's true, at that moment, our president, our government, will diminish in power, as they all will, around the world every second. They would become less and less capable of governing. Because, well, could we check with the UFO guy? Could we see if the UFO guy thinks this is a good plan? That's going to happen. And I believe that, rather than fear of the population, I believe the reason that if this has been happening, if there have been visitations by other species, other planets, the reason it hasn't been revealed by our government or any government is that it will diminish the power of every government and every religion, won't it? You will go, well, wait a minute. You mean all of those things that happened 2,000 years ago, those were spacemen? That wasn't prophets? That wasn't Jesus or Muhammad? You see what's going to happen? It'll happen the minute it's announced, yeah, well, these people actually from Alpha Centauri, they've been doing everything. They're the Anunnaki. Meet the Anunnaki, the people who made hybrid humans to mine gold. You know the myth of the Anunnaki, that they made hybrid humans to mine gold, and that's who we are. They came here to get our gold. 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Walter Sterling for TJ McCormack. I have to look at so many different things to do this, but I'm getting there, guys. Another Side of Midnight, TJ McCormack on the Red Apple Audio Network with Walter Sterling, 800-848-9222. Valentine's Day, 15 minutes past the hour. Welcome to the big show, the network radio show. Welcome. You and I are talking about conspiracy theories, and it is often dismissed. The conspiracy theories, going down the rabbit hole, Pizzagate, they're often dismissed. But the fact is, if we have conspiracy theories, it means we have spare time. How do we have spare time? We're fed. We're housed. We're clothed. We're indoors. We have a society that functions. We don't have to spend every minute like a squirrel or a whale looking for food, looking for ways to survive, trying to find ways to keep going. We can sit back. We can watch Pawn Stars, American Pickers, or my favorite, Storage Wars. Isn't the best show Storage Wars? You don't have to guess anything that could happen. You know exactly what's going to happen. Oh my gosh, look at the back of this storage locker. There is a Rembrandt. Who knew? Let me go to my friend, the Rembrandt appraiser, just down the street in Sacramento, and see what he thinks about this Rembrandt. Oh, wow. Okay. That's, it is the most interesting show with the tightest production. Every single thing in those storage lockers, has already been gone through by the producers. The producers have taken the valuable stuff, put it up front. If there was nothing valuable in there, they put something valuable in there. And no matter where the Storage Wars people are, they know an expert nearby. in obscure Northern California towns. It's a remarkable show. It's like, whoa. And it's a big success. Big success. The sad thing about Storage Wars is it, in fact, is celebrating sadness. The reason people abandon storage lockers is either they went broke or they died or their business failed. Some of those are storages of retail stores, like a hair salon, and has all different kinds of wigs and makeup and shampoos, but they failed. It's all about failure. It's always all about these geeks going and celebrating failure. That's what Storage Wars is. And Pawn Stars has now been on for like 900 years. But we're entering a moment in time with the Epstein trials, with the Epstein files, that's really interesting. We're right at the verge of leaving all known facts. Here are 3 million more pages. What? How do you even count 3 million pages? How do you redact 3 million pages? Well, they've had a tough time getting it out in an expeditious way. For us to find out that Cheryl Hines was called 8 times. Her name is in the Epstein files. Cheryl Hines is in the Epstein files. No. You see, the Epstein organization called her 18 times. She never spoke to them, never met with them, never had dinner with them. But any time they mentioned anybody, called anybody, emailed anybody, they're in the Epstein files. I'm sure what it'll shake out to be is for either a spy organization or a government or a major corporation or the mob wanted to blackmail some people to get their products, their secrets, their money, something tangible, an old-fashioned business transaction, but at a high level, such a high level it required the largest house in Manhattan. The largest house in Manhattan, because the only way you're going to convince a billionaire that you're a billionaire is if you have the largest house in Manhattan. Pretty much that's the only way. But to those people, the fact that he had the largest house in Manhattan, that was enough. They didn't have to check anything else. They did not call one reference. They just went, oh, he has the largest house in Manhattan, and it's in his name. Maybe they checked to see whose name it was in, and it was his. Deal done. Let's do business. Let's go to the Four Seasons. Let's go to Michael's and complete our business. That's where it stops. Where it gets crazy, it's what's about to happen. Cannibalism, Pizzagate, pedophilia with 5-year-olds. Now it's going to start to get crazy. Walter M. Sterling, Another Side of Midnight, TJ McCormack, Red Apple Audio Network.
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack, 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormack.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Another Side of Midnight, TJ McCormack Show. Walter M. Sterling sitting in for TJ McCormack on the Red Apple Audio Network. Phone number 800-848-9222 on great radio stations across the country. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Joaquin in Pennsylvania, welcome to the Red Apple Audio Network. Hi, Joaquin.
Good morning, Mr. Sterling.
Yes, sir.
You know, earlier when you started the program, you were talking about Red Apple Media Group and how it's for entertainment. I quite frankly don't see it that way because I've always looked at this type of radio as hopefully being education, particularly on the conservative side, where there's such a lack of any kind of real, truth about this country and things.
Have you been educated? Have you been educated, Joaquin?
Well, I've been educated. Well, I've been listening to radio for a long time, and yes. And quite frankly, my hope is that more people get educated as to what's going on, But so anyway, and now you talked about Epstein. The whole thing about Epstein that gets to me is this: his death is obviously a murder. I mean, Dr. Bowden it points out the hyoid fracture and the 2 fractures in the thyroid cartilage. And I had done a search one time, to see how often these things happen in suicidal deaths, and I can't come across, most of the sites I looked at, they said it just doesn't happen, And the thing of it is that if this happens in a facility where allegedly there's been no suicides before, and, the cameras were off, the guards were sleeping, almost sounds like, the Roman soldiers at Jesus' tomb, it makes no sense. And you can't help but wonder, with the people in charge of the DOJ and the FBI, that nobody's coming out and everybody keeps trying to reassure everyone that this is a suicide when obviously it wasn't, and also, too, Virginia Giuffre, if you'd seen, I don't know if you saw her video that she made before, she was...
Yes, saying that she
Epstein.
definitely did not kill herself. And in my opinion, I agree with you. There's no way that was a suicide. And the one thing about it that really struck me that I haven't heard anyone else mention, but on the way out, when you saw him on the gurney being taken out that morning, the next morning, his face wasn't covered. On every police procedural show you and I have ever seen, when they take out a dead body, the face is covered. This was the first time in history I ever saw a face not covered being taken out by EMS, police, a notorious suspect. His face was uncovered. That doesn't happen. The only reason that face, in my opinion, was not covered was so we would see, yes, oh my gosh, yes, Joaquin, he is dead. Thank you very much for your call. Thank you for calling 800-848-9222. The T.J. McCormack Show, Another Side of Midnight with Walter M. Sterling. Mark in Pennsylvania, welcome to the
Hello.
Red Apple Audio Network. Hi.
Nice to hear all these educational aspects. I've been listening for about a half year now. I love it. What I was going to mention, back in about 1976, I would have been like, 11th grade or 12th grade. And I was in airplane mechanics school at the Allegheny County, Pittsburgh, near Pittsburgh, south of Pittsburgh Airport, learning to be an airplane mechanic, which was paid for through our high school last 2 years. 11th and 12th grade was the first time program that we could obtain our certificate. Anyway, at that time, my sister Maureen, 1 year older than me, and I'm 66 now, by the way, back in 1977, they had just got married, and they were on their way back to her husband's parents' house, her husband's parents' house in Elizabeth, Pennsylvania. There's the Monongahela River, which is down over the hill.
Mark, yeah. Where are we going? Where are we going on this adventure? Where are we going?
Well, they stopped and they saw this cigar-shaped craft.
Right.
Looked like a big cigar, and
right.
They could see there was windows. So, it looked like it was going like 15 mile an hour. And there was police cars, 2,000 feet below it. And they were with their flashing lights, and they seemed to have been following underneath. And you could see people waving out. They said they could see girls waving out the window, and there were sparks coming off of the back of this thing like it was lit. And now that could be I'm thinking, and, my sister even drew an artist. She was an artist. She drew exactly what they saw. And I took it to work, and everybody joked. They go, oh, you know what? They were smoking that night. But basically, we have like 4 that were there that seen it. And, could those possibly be, women and people that had been abducted that wanted to come back and see the town that they lived in, that they have this...
Well, Mark, that is an interesting perspective on abductions. I've never heard it before, where a craft comes to a specific place because people who had been abducted there want to see it again. That's an interesting possibility. Mark, thank you very much for calling the Red Apple Audio Network. Mike in New York, welcome to the Red Apple Audio Network. Walter Sterling for T.J. McCormack. Hi.
Hi. Yes, John Keel, a famous researcher on paranormal subjects, he said that his study brought him to the conclusion that the Men in Black main purpose is to make sure that people do not know that the UFOs are terrestrial.
I believe that. I believe that there are UFOs. They're terrestrial. It's just like the wacky thing that happened a week before the election, where there were drones all over New Jersey. Throughout New Jersey, they were seeing drones, and they were low and they were huge, and there was no answer forthcoming. And then our president becomes president and says, nothing to worry about here. Pay no attention to the man over there. Pay no attention. Right, Mike?
Right. Jacques Vallée and J. Allen Hynek both thought it was untenable to think that they were coming from outer space.
Seems physically difficult, Mike, and thank you very much for calling the Red Apple Audio Network. The show is Another Side of Midnight. T.J. McCormack is the host. I have the privilege of filling in for T.J. McCormack, who is a spectacular host, a great talent, an honor to be sharing this time with you. Greg in New York City, welcome to the Red Apple. That's all right. Greg is gone. He made a mistake. He's doing something less important. The phone number is 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. You and I are sharing our theories about conspiracies. And it is a misnomer when I hear people say, well, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole on this one. This is wacky. No, think about this. I've never heard of a conspiracy theory from a whale. I've never heard of a conspiracy theory from the squirrels or the birds that will annoy you in a few minutes. This is a distinctly human activity, but it is a high-functioning brain that can come up with conspiracy theories. Why? You have to have free time. You have to have good meals, comfortable clothing, a very comfortable chair, the History Channel, and a lot of time to make stuff up, to be creative. The correct word is to be creative. Conspiracy theories are healthy. They're good. Don't let somebody talk you out of them. And it comes up with things that we come up with theories that may turn out to be true. Now, right now, we're at the precipice of going from pretty logical on the Epstein files to being crazy, to being conspiracy theories. People are going to say it's crazy, but how often have the crazy stuff turned out to be true? Consider the fact that people who come up with conspiracy theories are futurists. A conspiracy theory is theory today that will be fact a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. One of the parts of the Epstein files where there's much speculation, were these people cannibals? Were these elitist cannibals? Well, remember the actor Armie Hammer? From the Arm & Hammer family, a rich family, oil people. They weren't headphones. What? What'd you say? I didn't hear you. What'd you say? Okay, when they tell you to keep on talking, I'll keep on talking. No problem. It's what I'm here for. Happy to do. And he's from a rich family, an oil family. He's not the baking soda family, but he's a rich guy, right? Rich family. Handsome, movie actor. And he gets in trouble because he says, I'm all cannibal. Whoa, what? You're all cannibal? And now we have, in the Epstein files, much speculation that many of these rich and famous people were on Epstein Island because they were cannibals. My opinion, nonsense. Or it's a conspiracy theory. And conspiracy theories predict the future.
It's almost like a neutron bomb went off in my life, right? It killed all the people. It killed me. It killed my ego. It killed all the people around me that I thought were my friends that weren't. People called me a cannibal, and everyone believed them. They're like, yep, that guy ate people. It was bizarre. It was a crisis, a spiritual crisis, an emotional crisis, and the way I saw it was I have two options here. I can either let this destroy me, or, to the point of your podcast, I can use this as a lesson. In terms of my career as an actor, I'm nowhere.
He was in that gay movie with Timothy Chardonnay, Call Me By Your Name. Call Me By Your Name. That was his big breakout movie. And I have to wonder, what did Timothy Chardonnay think about him after it turned out he might be a cannibal? He said he was a cannibal. He voicemailed that he was all cannibal. Armie Hammer. He was all cannibal. Now the speculation would be that the elitists that went to Epstein Island went to this island, which looked pretty damn tacky for billionaires, was to do things that they couldn't do anyplace else. And that Army was tipping this off, along with Pizzagate. But you see, all of that gets into the conspiracy theory phase that is not present tense and is not provable, but could be the prediction of the future of what's going to roll out as fact 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Therefore, not a good idea to dismiss conspiracy theorists, because often what their theories are true. Often what their theories are true. 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. I was sharing with you that John Katsimatidis, who owns the Red Apple Audio Network, has done something that's impossible. In the media world, considered impossible. He bought an AM radio station in New York City, WABC, like many radio stations on this network, KDKA, WGN, many radio stations. And he said, I don't care if it's dead in the water. I'm going to turn it around. And the previous owners, multiple owners, pretty much let it go to hell. They didn't take care of it. They didn't pet it. But John said, no, I'm going to pet it, and I'm going to staff it with radio stars, with radio talent. I'm going to staff it on the air and off the air. I'm going to get rid of the garbage shows and put on good shows. And that's what the Red Apple Audio Network is. It's the good shows. And I'll tell you what he did, and this is the part that's impossible. It is sort of okay easy to turn around an FM radio station in America. Not impossible. The FM radio stations are in the most populated part of a city, most populated part of town, the most populated, listened to part of the radio dial. No, he was going to take an AM in the ghetto. Nobody was downtown anymore. He was going to take that radio station. And he took it from like 23rd in the city to 4th and 5th in the city, a city of 45 signals, 50 signals, an AM station without an FM, and he was going to turn it around. I get choked up. And he did. And how did he do that? He made radio. He put on hosts who knew how to make a show. He promoted it. My God, he did what? Yes, he took out newspaper ads to promote it, made sure that the station was at every cultural event in the city. He put on newsmakers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, people who would bring audience with them, posted on Facebook, posted on social media. He made the station a vital part of digital social media because of all of the talent that he brought on and all of the guests they brought on. Talent comes on, they post it. Guest comes on, they promote it, on and on and on. In a 5-year period, Chad Lopez and John Katsimatidis turned around a radio station that was long thought dead because it was on AM. You can't turn around an AM station. It's impossible. But he did it. He took it from like 23rd to 5th or 6th in the city in total audience. Great in the demographics, and more importantly, it sells products like crazy, which is kind of the point. And it does that by entertaining. Caller mentioned just now, well, I listen to it to be informed. Read a book. The reason you and I listen to any radio station is to have a good time. You pick up some knowledge along the way, good for you. Go listen to NPR. Oh, nobody does that anymore, I forgot. The reason people listen to the Red Apple Audio Network stations is because these are entertaining radio stations that have information we need. We don't need esoteric information. We need information about how to get to work, What happens when the red light goes on in your car, the check engine light? You want to know what to do when the check engine light goes on in your car? I'll tell you. What you do is you open the hood, you take the negative cable off of the battery for about a minute, then put it back on, and the odds are the check engine light will go out, and you can go have your old car inspected without any trouble. No, really, that's what you do. You just take the negative cable off for about a minute, and then it will recharge. Now, if there's water in your basement, I can't help you with that easily. That is our greatest hell, isn't it? You go downstairs, you open the basement door, you open the cellar door, depending on which part of the Midwest you're from, and you see water on the floor. That strikes fear into every suburbanite in America. There's nothing worse. You think you're going to run out, have a bagel, go to work, coffee. Disaster strikes on the basement floor. Another Side of Midnight, Red Apple Audio Network. Walter M. Sterling for TJ McCormack.
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormack.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Walter M. Sterling sitting in for TJ McCormack. Welcome to Another Side of Midnight on the Red Apple Audio Network. He is such a good host. It is such a privilege to be in this chair for TJ McCormack. Welcome to Valentine's Day. Did you do it? Did you get her the right thing? Did you? What? No, the jewelry. The answer is always the jewelry. Did you do that? That's what she wants. It almost doesn't matter where you get it, except don't get it on Etsy. She'll know if it's from Etsy. She'll really know if it's from eBay. You're in trouble right there. Go to the nice little store. You know the nice little store nearby. It doesn't have to be Tiffany's. The nice little store run by the nice little husband and wife who've been there for 32 years. They want to sell you the right jewelry. They know your wife. There you go. You want to go to the jewelry store that knows your girlfriend, that understands your wife. Yes, she has something like this. She prefers rubies. Don't get her sapphires. I know your wife. She wants rubies. Don't get the sapphires. That's the challenge, my friend. I hope you did well. There's no greater hell, right? There's no greater hell than getting a dining reservation on Valentine's. Because what restaurants do is what exactly you know what they do. They have 2 seatings instead of 1. They double up their business. They have a special Valentine menu that you're not going to get out of there for less than $100 a person. I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's a private room at McDonald's. You're going to be paying $100 a person. It would be cheaper, plan this for next year, it would be cheaper to hire a chef to come to your home and cook. Believe it or not. You could probably do better and be cooler to hire a chef to come to your home. Cook that way. That's always good. Or, depending on where you live, mostly if you live in Florida, you could do it on a boat. You can get a chef to go on a boat with you, and a very romantic evening. They'll prepare a meal on the boat, and it'd be like Below Deck. You can be like Below Deck. You know that show on Bravo? I know you watch that show. That's one of my favorite shows on Bravo. It's a show about insanely rich, gaudy people renting a super yacht for 3 nights. Usually costs $400,000 to do this. This is for people who have too much money, too much free time, and they've got to get rid of their money as fast as possible. They rent a super yacht for a month? No, 3 nights. They go through the Mediterranean for 3 nights, and they're served by Australian high school dropouts in uniforms that are too tight. That's what the show is. Below Deck on Bravo, Australian high school dropouts. Beautiful, in shape, in uniforms that are too tight, that have no idea how to either clean or serve. The dinner's always trouble. There's always a fight with the chef. Chefs are always a problem, no matter where it is, what part of the Mediterranean, where the yachts are. Trouble with the chef. But it's great because there are cameras everywhere, except the bathrooms. But there are cameras in the bedrooms, and everybody's doing everybody else. And there's nude beaching and nude swimming. And the only way to get the captain mad is if a passenger jumps overboard to swim without permission. That really ticks off the captain. Or there are drugs. The most dramatic episode is in one of the cabins of one of the guests, there were drugs. And this captain was like, I could lose my charter. I could lose my license. If there are drugs on this boat, you have to get off. And he took them to the next port of call. Now, can you imagine how exciting this is? It's hard to believe. All right, let's see. My name is Walter Sterling. The show is Another Side of Midnight. TJ McCormack is the host. And my phone number is 800-848-9222. TJ's off this weekend. A pleasure to be spending time with you on Valentine's Day. I have a 14-year-old daughter who turned 14 today. She has waited 14 years for the privilege of saying, today is my birthday. There are a lot of conspiracy theories that you and I need to discuss, and I'll be on again tomorrow night because there's no accounting for taste. But one of my favorite conspiracies, which always gets people surprised, never discussed. I will tell you how anybody could win the President of the United States, the governor of your state, senator, congressman, mayor. They have to add one plank to their platform. Do you know what it is? I promise to get rid of the tolls on the highway. Why haven't I heard one candidate, not one candidate, say, I will get rid of the tolls on the highway. I will do whatever I have to do to get rid of the tolls on the highway. And you're thinking of them as sort of a passive, not an evil thing. Well, I got a number of calls tonight from Pennsylvania, probably from Pittsburgh. Thank you. To go from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia on the Pennsylvania Turnpike costs over $50 for a 4-wheeler and $1,000 for an 18-wheeler. What? Yes. $1,000 for an 18-wheeler to go from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. Well, they need that money to repair the road. That's not what the money's for. Most of the road repair money comes out of the state's Department of Transportation budget, a taxed budget, or the gasoline tax. Most of your gasoline tax goes to repairing the highways. Well, where's the toll money go? Well, now there's a question. On the budget for the Pennsylvania Turnpike, $25,000 a year at least goes to public relations for a road. Does every road need public relations? I guess so. $800,000 to $900,000 a year for the CEO of the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Yeah, the CEO of the Pennsylvania Turnpike makes $800,000 to $900,000 a year. That's where some of your toll money goes. The bulk of it goes to the bonds that paid for the road. All of these highways were paid for by bonds, debt. These organizations raised money by debt, and it goes to pay interest on the bonds. Now, the Pennsylvania Turnpike, for example, was the first toll road in America. Seems that those roads should have been paid off by now. Those bonds should have been paid off by now in Pennsylvania. Sorry. But that's not the case. Those roads were built in the early 1950s, late 1940s. They still are paying off their bonds like you're still paying off MasterCard with a minimum payment each month. Yeah, but, that's all I have to do. Yeah, and you'll be paying it off the rest of your life. But the Pennsylvania Turnpike, they paid off their original bonds many, many times over a long time ago, didn't they? What's this about? It says in the charter of all of these roads that they can collect a toll until the bonds are paid off. Or, if in the opinion of the authority of the road, it is necessary for safety reasons to build more road, they can then raise bonds to build more road and pay those off with continuing tolls. Well, who builds more road? People who pour concrete. Who are they? You work that out privately yourself over hot dogs this weekend. Interestingly, the Roman roads built 2,000 years ago in northern England, they're still there. There are no tolls. They're working fine. How is that possible? Here's the conspiracy part. I was shocked to learn, maybe you won't be, that the people who operate toll roads around the world talk to each other. They discuss how to handle local objection to increased tolls, how to deal with city councils objecting to the toll roads. And they have a newsletter. It's called Tollway Daily News. They put out a daily newsletter, and it is packed. You figure, what could they talk about? Well, it's free. Go look it up. Tollway Daily News, an amazing newsletter where all of the people running toll roads are communicating with each other, conspiring with each other on how to make sure you and I pay more for the tolls, how to lessen the burden, how to make it okay. The impact of putting up those readers, those cameras that capture your license plate number, my license plate number, and track us and track us and track us and know where we are, what we're doing, and how quickly we're going to pay and what kind of a risk we are that we're not going to pay, and on and on and on and on. You didn't know that. Nobody seems to know this. To me, that is the most eye-level, hit-us-every-day conspiracy there could possibly be. That whenever you and I, our primary contact with the government is when we pay a toll. That's our primary check-in with the government. And now, thanks to easy passes, electronic tolling, license plate tracking, it is a profound contact. We are checking in with them. We are checking in with the government every time we pay a toll. It is not a passive thing. It is not nice and polite. It is checking in with the government. They know where we are, what we're doing, and I haven't heard one politician say, I'll get rid of them. I haven't been aware of one state except Connecticut 25 years ago ever lowering the toll or getting rid of it. Have you? You ever heard? Is your state getting rid of the tolls anytime soon? Is that going to be happening? Why hasn't one candidate for any office put a plank on their platform and say, I will get rid of the tolls? I'm going to fight to get rid of the tolls. Why is that? And then it leads me to the conspiracy theory. Who's paying who? Who's paying who? Why is it that one candidate, money-hungry, greedy candidates, not one of them is saying, I'll get rid of the tolls? It would work in an instant. You're in business. You're driving a truck. You're driving a delivery truck or an 18-wheeler. It impacts you profoundly. Those tolls profoundly affect the bottom line of any business. You're running a supermarket chain. Where do your deliveries come from? Trucks on toll roads. Probably best to get rid of the tolls, get rid of the toll tags on those trucks, and make it possible for them to lower their prices to the supermarkets. When I hear about how the price of oil is going down and that's going to lower the price of food, good, that's very nice. It'd be faster to get rid of the tolls. Wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be a faster way to get rid of the costs of getting goods and foods to supermarkets? And never once, Never once, excuse me, I got to change this. Never once have I heard a politician say, I'll get rid of the tolls. That'll be my platform. We're going to get rid of the tolls. Wouldn't that have been a great thing for a candidate to say? Wouldn't that have been the smart thing for any presidential candidate to say? It would completely change the game. Get rid of the tolls. The reason that that's hard, in my opinion, is all of those toll companies, all those toll CEOs, they go to conventions with each other. They know each other. They talk to each other. And they're insanely well paid. And you and I can't get those jobs. Those are like permanent positions. That's like the Politburo. You never quit and you never get fired. You're just there because you know every secret there is. $900,000 a year to run a toll road. What? Are you inventing the road? Are you inventing tolls? Are you inventing new ways to pave the road? Why do you get $800,000 a year to run a toll road, which is passive income? There's no work involved. Incredibly tiny workforce. The only people on those toll roads worth paying are the state police. Many of the toll roads have to pay the state police because in most states, believe it or not, what state police do is give out tickets on the highway and protect the governor. That's their job. They're body protectors for the governor. You know, you heard all the stories from the state police in Arkansas about Bill Clinton and all the things he did. Well, those are the same guys who were giving out toll tickets. They were taking care of Bill Clinton and your governor, and they hand out speeding tickets. That's primarily what state police do. With respect, glad you're there, especially if I get a flat tire on the side of the road and you pull up behind me and make sure I'm okay, but never help me change the tire. Never has a state policeman helped me fix a tire. That's the deal. Get rid of the tolls. Why aren't they getting rid of them? They're talking to each other. All of those organizations, all the people running the toll roads, they're conspiring to let nobody touch that income. That is gold. That is the biggest scam there is. The toll roads. Biggest scam there is. Have you had fun? Has this been a good time for you? Another Side of Midnight? TJ McCormack's show with Walter M. Sterling filling in tonight and tomorrow night. There's good news for you. This is the Red Apple Audio Network.
It's Another Side of Midnight, 77 WABC.